Good evening. We're going to get started here in just a second. We always open with a prayer and a pledge, and then we got a lot of fun stuff to cover tonight. So, does everybody know Alex Johnson? Alex?
Thanks, Jack. So I'm Alex Johnson. I've run for chairman of the Georgia GOP twice. I've run for public office before. I'm an attorney and always been a Republican. The most important thing I've always come down to is that there is a true good way of running the country, and that's the Republican principles. When a legislator violates their promises, people know it and they don't want to be involved in the party, and they get fed up with politics. They want to stay at home with their family, or they call themselves independents. So right now you have corporate and donor money running politicians, which runs the party, which then is pushed down on the activists, and in the end, principled Republican voters lose. They end up with a filtered PR side of, oh yeah, well you just got to get a vote for a Republican because they're better than the Democrat. I agree, Republicans are better than Democrats, but we want the ones who actually share our principles. So right now, and I know this is a lot of information, but you have to understand who this system benefits to understand where the negative messaging is coming from and how to beat it. Right now, the system benefits the big government and regulatory state. If you don't understand how bad it is, Google regulatory capture. It's the idea that a lot of times these big government agencies that are there to help you or to help the children, they're actually run by the organizations they are supposed to be regulating. So small interests, small businesses, have very little influence or pull on state or federal regulatory agencies. Political and fundraising consultants run a lot of the party. Lobbyists, I think the 11th District Republican Party chairman is a lobbyist. I mean, people who are involved in the party a lot of times who don't want to see the system change actually make money off politics. Like that's just the way it works. That's the incentive to be involved for a lot of people. I don't know if individuals are, but that's the way it oftentimes works out. Incumbent politicians, they benefit because if nothing changes, nobody else gets educated, it's hard to lose in a primary ballot. Lobbyists, a lot of times, they win because if nothing changes, they keep the same connections in office, they keep their friendships, they can still cause influence in politics, so they get paid. Principled Republican voters lose. In the past, if you look at some of the old fundraisers the Republican Party has done, the fundraisers are oftentimes run by relatives of the sitting governor who actually did some of the fundraising and got a good commission out of it. Even in a contested primary, in the last U.S. Senate race, the people with the money are the ones who made it to the runoff, Kingston and Purdue. Money ends up winning and getting you places in politics under the current system. It's not necessarily about the grassroots support. So the question is, in the future, how can we turn what we saw earlier into this, where principled Republican voters are the ones running the party, and the party and the principled voters are running the politicians and maintaining the brand. And the point of actually the party being more principled and focusing on principles is that way the money that the GOP used to raise, currently this slide's actually outdated. I say the millions of dollars raised by the GOP, that's not really happening anymore. The state party, I think, missed payroll at the beginning of September briefly, according to the AJC. They aren't raising money. They're having a very hard time raising money, and it's gone downhill over the past few years. And I believe it's because the party's not standing for anything. That's what Eric Erickson argued on the radio recently, and that's what we've been arguing for the past few years. But the party has a name, and if it stood for something and it was trying to bring people in, it provided value to voters, I think it could raise a lot of money and it could actually grow and get more people involved voting Republican by making sure the politicians that we have run for office actually stand for Republican values. They don't just say they do and then vote for big government and vote for bills that increase the power of government. And it could work because the politicians, if they want to stay in office, they'll want to follow the grassroots if the grassroots is stronger. If we have more people involved, more people paying attention, then they don't want to be primaried. They don't want hundreds of people out knocking on doors, spreading information against them to get them out of office. So they'll actually start listening to us if we can prove it in a few cases. So how can you make this happen? Well, obviously, get involved in your local party and recruit people to show up from your local Rotary clubs and churches. Get people involved for the next state convention. It's starting up next year. The convention process starts in February with your precinct meetings. These conventions elect the national committee man and woman, 2 of the 3 people from Georgia who represent Georgia on the RNC, and they elect all the national delegates to the National Convention, which controls the platform for the National Republican Party. And get involved and recruit people in your local organizations. Don't be bashful. Demand that people get involved in this. I mean, that's why I'm here saying all of you need to get involved, because it's a way to fix the party and the country and politics in general. But the other organization, and the main thing to be involved with now, to organize, is the Republican Assembly. The National Federation of Republican Assemblies was formed out in California in the 30s. I only recently learned about the assembly movement. They have a lot of chapters out west. Andrea, my fiance here, and I went to the National Convention in Nashville a few months back. And I talked with people from around the nation about the way this is working in various states. The Federation of Republican Assemblies and Republican assemblies in general are the motto is the Republican wing of the Republican Party. These are the people who actually believe the party should stand for something. And if you go to GeorgiaRA.com, we have a website on the Georgia Republican Assembly that will show you membership forms, show you what we believe in, show you what we're trying to do. But in other states, what has been accomplished is taking all the conservative groups, the Tea Party groups, the Liberty groups, the 912 groups, all the different groups that oftentimes are not unified, that do not know what's going on with each other around the state, and get them all to work together under a broad banner, under what essentially the Republican Party should be doing, what the Republican Party believes in, and working together. I forget which state it was. I talked to a gentleman from, I think it was Illinois, but he was talking about how they got all the Tea Party groups together, and all they had to do was make sure that everyone knew that 1 or 2 guys are the ones to be targeted in the state legislature. Just 1 or 2. They all just worked together, they made those connections, and they removed them from office. And they said, look, the assembly did this. So what do you think the other politicians started doing? They realized that because 2 of their good, big, important guys got taken out and removed from office, well, maybe we should actually start listening to the people. Maybe we should start listening to the grassroots. And that's how you can start causing real change. In Hawaii, I know the assembly actually got one of the RNC delegates elected. One of the people on the National Republican Committee was one of the people who led the assembly there. And the point being, that's how you get conservatives involved. And what we're going to do in Georgia, which may be different from other states, and this is what I campaigned on to be when I was running for state party chairman, but this is what the assembly is going to do in Georgia, is we're going to make it so it's a one-stop shop for getting people involved in politics. That's what it is. This is an effort that actually is meaningful. The state Republican Party should be doing this, and they are. So that's what we're going to do. Everything's good. It's a volunteer organization, and what we're going to do is we're going to get people involved based on principles and empower people. If someone walks in and goes to the website, they'll be shown, hey, if you want to run for office, here are the resources. Here are some consultants you can trust that will help you actually get elected, actually believe in what you believe, and help you run for office. Here's a list of potential donors that believe in what you believe and will help. Here are all the volunteers around the state that can evaluate your person and candidacy, and they can help you run for office. People around the state, because just here we have maybe 30, 40, 50 people in this room, but statewide, there are thousands of people. And that's the difference. Maybe only 10 or 15 people out of this room can help, maybe 5 or 10. That's not much if I want to walk in and say I want to run for office. But when you know you actually have the backing of a lot more people that can evaluate and help you out, that's how we cause change. That's how we win. The other thing is education. Maybe people in the public want to just know what's going on locally, want to know what's going on in their county or across the state. They just want information. Great. That's what we're going to provide. Here's resources from Angela B., from Mary Kay Bacalalo, from Jack, from anybody who actually has educational materials on how to lobby, how to go and talk to the legislatures. We're going to provide that. We're going to have that on our website available for all to see of this is how you can get involved and actually influence politicians. Or maybe you just want to change the party. Maybe you want to get involved in that. Well, those resources will be there too. What I was talking about earlier about how the party works, those materials will be there in video, in writing, showing this is how the party structure works, and this is how you get involved. And this will all be easy for local chapters, because the way it's going to work is you put in your membership form, you send in your application, Once we get on the state level, and I say we because Jack is actually one of the national directors from Georgia. He's sitting on the national board of the assembly along with me and Kay Godwin down from South Georgia. What happens at the state board, the application comes in, we get the information, and then once you get over 10 people in your local area, you create a local chapter that you run locally. You have the Cherokee County Republican Assembly, and that group runs its own events, it does its own thing. If you want to endorse a candidate within the geographic area, you can with over a 2/3 vote. You have your meetings, you do that, and that pulls the state and national endorsement. And additionally, you do an event, the state organization will be using the resources gained from membership dues, and we're going to be out fundraising to advertise that event so that people from the public actually will show up to these events. We're also going to go and put out information of other conservative groups. Unlike the state party, we don't think that a conservative group that doesn't say Republican in the name is somehow the enemy. We see it as we're all in it together. We all want to see conservative principled people get elected. So, hey, here's when the 9/12 group meets. That's currently on the website right now showing this meeting. I'll be speaking down in Peach County in a few weeks. That's currently on the website. As events come in from groups that are aligned with us, those will be advertised. Those will be pushed out. And as we gain resources on the state level, we'll be advertising to the Republican and moderate voting lists to get people out to these meetings to learn what's going on, to get involved. Because this is the way it sort of works, is that we're the factory. The people in this room are committed. We're here because we care. We need more people. We need the people from the public involved. The people in your local county party meetings, they're the factory. They're the committed people who know what's going on, but we need more. Because the issue is numbers win elections. And right now, the state party isn't trying to grow numbers. Candidates aren't really trying to grow numbers of new Republican voters. An organization is necessary to do this, and that's the Georgia Republican Assembly. That's what we're doing. We have the network. At the last state Republican convention, the people who were aligned with this idea, I got 45% of the vote, and that was about down ticket in other races, people who shared the similar values. That's a lot of people, and those people all working together, growing more people with the actual support of a statewide organization, that's how we're going to grow the numbers. That's how we're going to get the people who many of you consider rhinos out of the party and out of politics and to turn it into something grassroots that we all believe in. We're going to be providing the training, consultants, donors, events, speakers, everything necessary to actually have an informed population and get more people empowered in politics. Because our numbers are shrinking, and we need them to be growing. And we're going to put out those advertisements. I mean, online advertisements are cheap. If we can get enough for radio advertisements, we'll do that. Statewide, like any and all advertisements, we're going to grow the movement, all of our movements. It's going to help every organization, every conservative Republican principled organization in the state. So next year, party elections do come up for the national delegates and the committee man and woman. We need people involved in the party next year. That's starting out with the precinct meetings in February to make sure that we can try to get good principled Republicans at the state convention. And then the year after, it'll elect all new party leadership, and we're going to need good principled people there for that as well. It's important to realize that not everyone's the enemy. It's important to go and talk to people you may think may not be 100% aligned, but try to get them involved in this movement, get them involved, realizing that there is a different way of doing politics. We do not need to be subject and enslaved to corporate cronyism and money from big business, because in the end, our principles help business. They do. Even the ones that are currently getting corporate cronyist favors, Republican principles are better for them than Bernie Sanders socialism. It just is. And they will realize that. We just need to take that leadership role and educate and inform people on that and demand better government. Because we aren't going to get better government just by voting Republican every election. We get better government by demanding that the Republican candidates are better and align with our principles. Now, the people that you will probably never convert, and this is important because a lot of them have leadership positions in a lot of different organizations. People who are friends with politicians, people who make money from politicians, people who work for politicians. Some of them may be on our side, but a lot of times they will not want to see change. And it's important just to realize that, be polite, be friendly, but in the end, that's what's going to happen, yeah. So what do we need to be doing? We need to be informing people on the party's principles, how they help people's lives. We need to show people on the party's existence and how to get involved. And we need to show people on what the party's been doing, what we are doing, and what our candidates have done. We need to empower people on how to cause change in the party and how to run for office. And we need to act. We need to get more voters registered. We need to get more people involved in community events. We need to have people at community events. I mean, I was just at the Marietta Square the other weekend. I didn't see any political groups there talking and advertising our existence. That needs to be happening. And in the end, the Assembly will provide the resources to make that happen. Step-by-step guides, the monetary support necessary, all of those things are what we're trying to do with the Georgia Republican Assembly. So I strongly encourage and urge and essentially beg you all, please get involved, get more people involved. It's going to be very transparent, like the way, and I'll even tell you right now, if you go to GeorgiaRA.com, it'll show everything about the organization. It'll show quotes from people. It'll show the Facebook feed. It'll show events coming up. It'll show our membership dues structure. And I'll even let you know this: we want your support no matter what. If you want to be a member, the lowest membership level possible on the website, $10 membership. $5 of that goes to national. Let you know that now. The other $5 is going to go to support advertising, to make things happen around the state, to put out, I mean, this event tonight, I personally just paid $2 to get, to boost the Facebook event for this meeting. That goes out to between 1,400 and 3,000 people. That's what $2 can do with online advertising. But that's the type of thing we need to be doing now to grow meetings, to get more people involved. I spoke down in Lamar County about 2 months ago, put out a robocall. Someone donated the robocall, went to all the moderate, lean Republican, and hard Republican voters in the district. Normally they got 15 people at their meeting. That one they got about 30 to 35. It was the best attended Lamar County Republican meeting that many of them had ever seen. But that was from a robocall that was cheap enough that someone was free, and it went out to about 2,000 people. Those are the type of things that a little bit of money or virtually no money can grow an organization. But we need to grow if we're going to win. We can't keep preaching to the choir. We can't keep doing the same thing over and over again. And this is the way we're going to make it happen. This is the organization that can do it. So please go to the website, GeorgiaRA.com. I'm open for any questions or concerns. And yeah, thank you.
Who's your Georgia State Director now?
Georgia State Director, well,
Yes.
for the Republican Assembly?
Yes.
I'm the chairman of the I'm the president of the Georgia Republican Assembly. The two national directors are Kate Godwin and Jack Stager.
So when did Juliana Holmson step down?
She about a month and a half ago. Yeah, we had an election and she was glad to be done with it. And yeah, that was it. Huh? It wasn't. Yeah. So that transitioned about 2 months ago. Is that a good change?
Yes, I think so.
All right.
Does the assemblies work with the regular Republican parties in some areas in any way? Like I'm on the executive board of the Fayette County Republican Party.
Yes.
Am I being a renegade to join? How does that work together?
Well, I mean, it depends on your state. It depends on the county party and everything else. Now, I will tell you this from my conversation with people at national, including obviously one of the people on the RNC, the committee man from Hawaii, mentioned to me that a lot of people on the RNC do not like the assemblies. Now, again, he's highly involved in his assembly. So on the national level, the assemblies aren't necessarily like that much. But then again, we stand for something. That's what I think the party oftentimes has an issue with, is anybody who really stands for something. I don't think it's necessarily is an adversarial relationship. The Republican Assembly, I think, should be supportive of local parties because we want them to grow. We want the party to be stronger. I'm all in favor of advertising Republican Party events. I'm advertising the one in Peach County coming up, where I'll be speaking in a few weeks. I know a lot of county parties. I know Cherokee parties is very Tea Party leaning, very principled party. From my personal knowledge, I would expect us to get along great. DeKalb County, same thing. I would expect Fayette, from my experiences visiting Fayette, that we'll get along great. Whether or not the state party likes the idea of what we're doing, I don't know. Some county parties may not, but I don't see why they wouldn't. I mean, we'll be advertising their events. We want people to show up and engage with the politicians. And if for some reason some county party doesn't like greater involvement and more people showing up, and I think Newton County is one that doesn't, seeing as how they've broken the rules and excluded about 80% of the people at their last convention. I mean, those are the type of county parties that may not like this, but that's because they like their connections, they like their power. I mean there will be some that don't, but I think that those groups are the ones killing the party. Like if they don't like the idea of greater involvement and more educated population, I think that that's
Really, we can be a
terrible.
member of the regular party and the.
Yes, definitely. Definitely you can be a member of both, and since there's no real party registration in Georgia, I mean, that's...
And Angela, on 2. Okay. I'm going to have to get it, turn it down because it's really loud. Number 2. No, he's on 3. Okay, that's better. This is not a replacement for the Republican Party. Okay, this is something that we want to see it go. To me, it's a good change to go through because as being on the state committee, I'm going to beat my head against the wall. These people scream and yell. Boyd knows, he's been there. Rick's been there. Angela's been there. If you get up and talk too much, they start screaming. He's already talked 3 times, and these people are going crazy. We got to get out of here. We got things to do. It's like, okay, then why are we here? I mean, I'm serious. It drives me out of my mind, and I try to be very nice and polite, and I have been. And as far as being a renegade, the chairman of the Republican Party of Cherokee County is sitting right here, and he knows. So we all can do this together because more people we get, and I want Republicans that want to be real Republicans. We've got form, we've got sign-up forms here, plus I want you to read the statement of beliefs on there, what they believe. And it's really awesome because ask the state party, where's the platform? And you're going to get like a deer in the headlights. You're going to go, because we don't have one. We don't have a platform. They're supposed to follow the national platform, but they don't do that. So we have nothing. It's just whatever feels good to you, I guess. That's what we have. So
They don't want to offend anyone. And one of the major things that I forgot to mention this, but one of the major things that the state committee of the Republican Party has done recently is made it so that state at large delegates to the national convention, in order to have any, because Georgia's a proportional state, meaning that a candidate for president, if they get 30% of the vote, they should get 30% of the state at-large delegates. Well, the way that it's been, and you would figure if you get 15% or 10%, you would get 10% of those delegates to the national convention to represent those principles and mindset. Well, they set it at 20%. If you get below 20%, the presidential candidate in this 10-way race gets below 10%, 20%, they get 0 state at-large delegates. Meaning that and my theory was originally that if a Jeb Bush or someone is the only one who gets over 20%, they get all the state at large delegates. Well, now it looks like it may be Trump from it. Now, if you like it or not, the issue is that disenfranchises a lot of voters who may have wanted some representation to the national convention. But they wanted from my understanding, their theory was they wanted a quick decision as to who the nominee was. And the only real logic behind that would be they want to make sure all the money starts pouring to the one candidate that they want early, which, again, why be involved in the party if it's already been predetermined for you who the nominee is going to be? So that's the type of difference between what this is and the Assembly is pushing for is a change and improvement in the Republican Party to involve more people, to make it more inclusive and not disenfranchise people. And that's a major difference, and I think we need to be organized to make this happen because the groups in South Georgia don't really know what's going on in North Georgia and vice versa. We need a statewide coalition, everyone working together, everyone being informed, everyone knowing what's going on in the party and in politics and how to cause change. Because one group here, one group in South Georgia, one group out west, various county parties just sort of knowing rumors about each other, that's not going to change things. So we need to work together, and this is going to do it.
Yep.
I think that the Republican Party is supposed to advertise like their precinct things, and they put a little blip in the paper sometimes, about having this meeting. So if you're doing this, you can actually help the party grow. You're advertising their precinct meetings, and they're having them. them and everything, we could actually get more people to the convention through this.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, in the end, this is a support for the Republican Party, for the party that wants more people involved, that wants involvement, that wants education, that wants voters to know about these processes. Anybody in the party that's opposed to this type of movement isn't really in it for the principles of the party. They're in it for their own control of the party. And that's a clear dividing line, because I don't think anything that we've talked about here regarding getting people involved in politics, getting people who believe in Republican principles involved in politics, should offend any Republican. And I don't care what principles you may have, that shouldn't offend any of them, unless they really just don't want public involvement. And that's what the underlying message is. So please help. Yes.
Yeah, I've been hearing talk a lot about the cornerstone of what the Republican Assembly does, which is endorses in primaries the most conservative, real Republican. And that's the major problem we have, is nobody's pointing to, in these primaries, who's the real Republican.
Exactly.
And if we did that, but you see, well,
According to the
that's
party
the party.
rules.
But if you did that, I was the former chairman for the RA in Cherokee County 15 years ago. It was an idea that hadn't come of time in Georgia. But we endorsed what we believed were the real Republicans in the major races for the state. And we won almost every race that we pointed as the real Republican by publishing that list in the newspaper. And at the time, the newspaper was the major form of communication. So it's very successful.
Yeah.
So people are waiting to be told, who's the real Republican? Who can I count on? They want to know that. It's a real service.
Exactly. The way that the RA is set up is that the local chapter, like if you have a local chapter, like a Cherokee Republican Assembly, it can endorse any candidate that's in Cherokee County, that's only running within Cherokee. And with that endorsement, like for a Cherokee commissioner, that carries a state and national endorsement. It binds down. For statewide stuff, it's a convention of the state members that would get to endorse, except for if it's a presidential year, like the convention that Andrea and I went to, the national delegates endorse a presidential preference, but the states don't have to follow that. A state can endorse someone differently, and we plan to do that next year at a state convention before the primaries. So hopefully all of you are involved and can have a part in that. The national ended up going through a number of ballots, and the national organization actually voted on its 5th ballot, I think, to endorse Cruz, and Trump had 30% on that ballot, which was interesting because those are the 2 remaining ones. But again, that doesn't bind Georgia, that doesn't bind any of you, and it required a 2/3 vote. And for any of you that may think, oh, well, I don't know if we should endorse people, here's the trick. We all believe in that shared set of principles that are on the membership forms that are on the website. So here's the thing, if your candidate managed to not get it, that's an incentive to bring more people in that think the way you do regarding candidates. And that's how we grow. And that's how the party can grow. And it's also how the party used to grow when it actually did endorse. So that's what it really comes down to, is that we need to give people the power to have their voice heard in politics and in the party. And that's what this provides, is an opportunity to show who the actual Republican is and not the one who's in bed with just corporate cronyism and big money.
Think of what it would have been like in the gubernatorial election if we had endorsed Pennington.
Oh,
Yes.
Yeah.
And somebody had said, Deal is a Democrat.
And that's the thing.
And he is a Democrat.
That's the thing, is we need to make sure there's a voice out there. Did you have a question?
She kind of
Oh,
answered.
oh, yeah.
I wasn't sure if you guys.
Any more questions? Oh, yes, sir. Yep.
This is not a pleasant thing. GRA has to be there to change the partisan mood.
We need to be the leaders that show the way it should be done.
And nobody who get hurt.
Mm-hmm.
Got it?
Mm-hmm.
I think that's what I have.
Awesome. Thank you.
Sonia?
So, where's the money?
Did I hear you correct that you said 50% of the
membership fees that go to GRA that go to the actual national Republican?
The way it works is that, and this is just so, because I believe in complete transparency. Like when
Right.
people start talking about money, like it's important that people know where it goes. On the website, there are multiple membership levels. There's a lifetime membership, there's a family membership, there's various levels, and I encourage you, if you believe in this, go for the biggest membership level possible and get as many people involved as possible. But again, this is a grassroots organization. We need as many people as possible. And the national demands that each member, like anybody who joins, to be on the national rolls. I think that the membership fee is $5 a member. So to join the Georgia Republican Assembly, our lowest membership level is $10. $5 for the state organization to be able to do ads and advance the party, and $5 will go to national. Only $5 out of any membership level goes to national. Yes. Yes, exactly. It's only $5 that goes, and for example, with the general membership or above, I think that's $25 or above, we're going to have name badges for you with Georgia Republican Assembly on them for you to go to, whenever you go to any meeting, civic meeting, political meeting, party meeting, anything at all, your name on it. It's good advertisement, and it lets people know who you are and what you stand for, so that way you can find like-minded people there. So that's the way that it's set up, but only $5 of any membership level goes to national. And yeah. Oh no, it's not. Yeah. Oh no. It's yeah. I just wanted to be clear, like where like why it's not free to be a member. Like we do need dues, but it's because of national. Any other questions? Yes, sir.
For the name badges, everything you could have Georgia Republican Assembly instead of GRA. So everybody knows.
Yeah, if it can fit on there, yes, that's what we'll do. Yes.
Point taken.
Definitely. Oh, did you have a question? All right. Well, thank you all very
Thanks,
much,
Alex.
and I'll be around to talk afterwards if you have questions. Thank you.
All right.